Saints Colts preview with the Pro Football Focus lads. Interesting game because up until about 2 hours ago, we thought Alvin Kamara was not going to play. Alvin Kamara has an illness. He did not practice on Wednesday, I believe, or maybe Thursday. But now he's upgraded to full practice, so a full participant. So now it looks like he's going to play. Must have been a quick little bug, quick little stomach bug. He is obviously not Mucinex and Claritin D out of his mind like yours truly has been all week. Something in the air down here in New Orleans. But that does change things, obviously. I mean, having Kamara back is a huge thing. Saints are sitting right now as a -1 road favorite. Carr is terrible as a favorite. Dennis Allen is terrible in general, but he's also terrible as a favorite. This is a tough matchup because with the Saints, you don't know what you're going to get, and especially from the betting market. If you're an unbiased person looking from the outside in, and you're not a fan of the team, you're not any of that stuff, you can look at a lot of these games and say the Saints won the box score. Like these are false finals. Maybe there's some value here with the Saints. Maybe they are undervalued. At some point, though, they are who they are. Like at some point, you can't keep saying the Saints are super talented. We're getting the Saints kind of cheap here. The Colts have Gardner Minshew. The Colts had an insane performance against the Browns. Box score wise, they had 500 yards of offense. They looked great. Should have won the game. Is that a blip or is that more of like Shane Steichen and the Colts? We know the Saints defense is good, but we thought the Browns defense was good. There's a lot of variables with the Saints team now. It's hard to bet. It's hard to bet on them. I bet on them every week because I'm obviously a Saints fan. But it's a tough team to handicap because there's on one hand, there's so much optimism. There's so much talent. The box scores seemingly, the Saints should have more wins than they do. Seemingly, they should have won some games that they lost. And you're kind of waiting for that team to click. And I can see where you can feel like you're getting them at a value every single week. Colts are the opposite. The Colts are a team where they might be a little overvalued because of how good they've performed, like last week. Teams see what the Colts did against Cleveland, and they want to believe Gardner Minshew is a capable quarterback in the NFL. But is he really? I would say no.
Saints favored by 1. Saints coming off of a rough Thursday night loss that they still were in at the end. Saints-Jags last week, and then the Colts coming off their heartbreaking loss to the Cleveland Browns. Yeah. Gardner Minshew coming out of that game with a 13 yards per attempt, but several turnover-worthy plays for the second straight week. I mean, to me, that's the story here. Gardner Minshew, who I thought, I think is a good, solid backup. And here's a stat for you. Gardner Minshew is leading the league in turnover-worthy plays.
Already?
Yes.
Wow.
He started.
See, that's one of those stats like I'm talking about where if you, and I always say interceptions and dropped interceptions and things like that should be stats, because if you throw a ball directly to a defender's chest and they drop it. To me, that's the same as an interception. Like just because the quarterback did everything they could to throw an interception, right? So just because the defender caught it or dropped it doesn't make the throw any better or any worse, okay? So I've always said interceptions are kind of a weird. Similarly, if a quarterback throws a perfect pass to a receiver, hits him in the hands, but it goes off of his hands up and then the defender picks it, that's not the quarterback's fault. The quarterback didn't do anything wrong. But the stat is so simple, an interception, is that they count both the same when they aren't the same. So because Gardner Minshew has the most turnover-worthy plays, to me, that's saying that the Colts are overvalued because he should have way more interceptions. He should have way more turnovers. And if he has more turnovers, the Colts have more turnovers, they probably are worse. They probably have worse results. But if you don't dig into the stats, you don't see those worse results. So to me, that's a big check in the box of the Saints, especially with a good Saints defense. That's a big check towards, okay, maybe we want to bet on New Orleans here.
2 games. He's played in 6.
Right.
He started 3 games, right?
Yes, 3 games.
3 starts in 2 extensive relief appearances. He's played in all 6, though.
Almost all Oh, sorry, no. Yeah, almost all the turnover-worthy plays. In fact, all of the turnover-worthy plays have come in his 3 starts. He hasn't had a turnover-worthy play in a game he didn't start.
So he is 30th in dropbacks and number 1 in turnover-worthy plays.
That's actually wild.
I'm going to check his career because he has 15 turnover-worthy plays. I don't think he had that his rookie season. No, he had 19 his rookie season as a pretty much full-time starter.
But his career turnover-worthy play rate is 3.8%. It's at 8% this year.
God. 15 of Minshew's 51 career turnover-worthy plays have come this season.
In 3 games?
In 3 games. That is, so it's kind of a trend right now, but not one that you should buy into,
I need to actually run.
It's way too high. All right, so if you hear those numbers, obviously 3 and 8 are very different. So the 8 will come down. But so I wouldn't buy into the trend of 8, but I would say it's probably somewhere closer to 5, which is still insanely high. So I'd buy into it a little bit, but I wouldn't buy into it that high. Maybe the play here, if you're on a gambling situation, maybe the play is Gardner Minshew to throw an interception. Maybe that's the move.
What is the turnover-worthy play rate just of the started games? Because that's what we're dealing with here.
Well, it was 6%
I don't think that matters.
In week 3, 11% in week 6, and 15% last week, 14.7%.
It's of dropbacks, right? Not of turnover-worthy
play. Of dropbacks, yeah, because you have fumbles and sacks in there and everything.
Oh, this is going to require some math.
Yeah.
Give me a moment.
Well, I think we painted the picture. Gardner Minshew needs to get better care of the ball. And again, this is what makes football so crazy. Yeah, over 10.7% turnover-worthy play rate.
10.7% turnover-worthy
So that's a bunch of fumbles. And look, this is what makes football challenging to predict, because you would say, well, the Colts put a ton of points on the board last week, despite this. And even against the Jags, they put some points on the board. They kind of got blown out, and they made a bit of a comeback. It was like
31-14. That was they weren't doing
so
nothing.
I think if Minshew takes care of the ball, he's pretty good at throwing it around. Like, it's kind of like the Sam Howell thing. As long as Sam Howell doesn't get tackled behind the line of scrimmage, called a sack, he can throw it okay. So I think Minshew is unlikely to keep up this ridiculous pace, although the Saints defense does make things challenging.
Yeah. 10.7% is the worst turnover-worthy play rate I've found dating back to 2016, which is when you stopped talking and I had to start responding myself.
I mean, I think that is like what he just said about it won't continue, but the Saints defense is certainly not the team you want to have turnovers against or turnover-worthy plays, because the Saints will take advantage of it. So I would say it drops, but it holds at about 5. So Minshew, I would still look at Minshew to throw an interception in this game.
You should just go right to John Skelton's page.
I don't know what. Yeah,
let me search John Skelton and see if he had something.
But 10.7 is abysmally catastrophic. I mean, Taylor Heineke had the worst turnover-worthy play rate in the NFL last season at 6-point-something. 10-point-something is absolutely unheard of bad, and not really. I mean, Minshew's always been a little bit on that Jameis Winston spectrum of capable of some Minshew magic, but also some, oh my God, what was that type of play? He's just been plumbing the depths this year of absolute madness.
It's real bad.
Even Skelton's worst was 6.7%.
There you go. You see, this is what I'm telling you. This is unbelievably terrible.
Yeah, it is. Now, on the other hand, the Saints offense, I don't know what. I'm out on predicting their breakout, which will probably happen this week. I mean, last week, it was just...
I think we're all in the same boat there. I don't think you can say, the Saints are going to break out, because I think the thought of they're going to break out is that all these talented players are finally going to click. They're all going to be there, and then the offense is going to explode. That is assuming there's a foundation to explode from. What we've seen through 7 weeks with the Saints is that there is no foundation. They're trying to build that foundation. So what we need to do is, instead of say we're going to predict the Saints breakout game, and I made this mistake in like week 3. I think I even titled a video, "The Saints offense must break out this week," because I was assuming the foundation would be there coming in. Carr had a foundation, Olave, Thomas, Kamara, they all had a foundation of good. Can they break out to great? There is no foundation now. So what we want to see from the Saints at this point is not a breakout, but a sustained success throughout a game. So we want to see long drives. We want to see them convert red zone opportunities. We want to see them, different things. We want to see success in the passing game. We want to see success passing deep, screens. We want to see success running the ball. We need to see a successful foundation before we can predict that breakthrough game. So instead of when are the Saints going to score the 55 points and 400 yards of offense and 4 passing touchdowns or whatever, instead of that, we need to say, like, okay, when are the Saints going to score 31, 28, 30, somewhere in there? When are they going to do that in a convincing fashion, proactively? And that can be the foundation. But we have yet to see, even the Patriots game, we didn't see it because of what the Patriots were doing. We saw points, but we never saw like super sustained drives or any of that stuff. Carr threw up for 180 yards. Kamara had like 80 yards on the ground. So we have to see the ability to even be average first before a breakout.
It feels like Derek Carr is checking down to Alvin Kamara, or when they go downfield, it's a prayer.
Yeah, just a go route.
Ill-timed.
Just a Hail Mary.
It is maybe one-on-one coverage, but the Carr and the receiver, the timing, the actual route, there is just no consistency there. And again, for my 5th straight week, I will highlight that the Saints have been terrible in the red zone, highlighted by Carr being pretty bad in the red zone.
Yeah, I think I said this on one of the many shows that you didn't show up to. But remember when I made some sort of forced metaphor that Raiders fans took extremely badly, that was sort of like, Derek Carr doesn't really know what he's doing, you know? And it feels like he sort of knows that he's supposed to take a deep shot every now and again, so he'll take one. But it's not like determined by what he's looking at or the coverage, or it's just like I'm due a deep shot, so let's chuck it up, right?
Yeah, they're all the same play. Like a lot of the Saints offense is 50-50 balls or dead plays. And that's why I think they stall so much. The Saints offense stalls a ton because you don't have that many plays to waste, in a possession. You don't have that many plays to just throw away. And the Saints throw away a lot of plays either through miscommunication or through these like 50-50 balls. If you just threw fade routes, again, or in the red zone, you would not be an efficient and effective offense. You may get some because it's just a 50-50 ball, but that's no way to run an offense. There's no way to run a scheme. When they take shots down the field, we've seen it from JT O'Sullivan, we've seen it through our own breakdowns, we've seen it from whoever. It's just 4 verticals. It's just 4 guys running go routes, and Carr just hucks it up to one of them. There's no rhyme or reason, and that just becomes it's one-on-one, we'll see what happens. That isn't taking a shot down the field. That isn't an effective way to push the ball downfield. We always talk about we want to see the Saints pushing the ball, but we want to see them doing it proactively. Like we want to see them with some kind of scheme, some kind of reason. We don't just want to see. It's not as simple as I want to see the ball going downfield. That's pretty much what they're doing. They're pretty much saying, you want to see the ball go downfield? Okay, we're just gonna throw it straight. That doesn't work. But that's, for some reason, all they do. So you combine that with checkdowns. You combine that with checkdowns and miscommunications where the ball's either getting thrown away or thrown into the dirt. That's our 3 most consistent plays, I would say, are 50-50 balls, checkdowns, and throwaways. That is horrific when that's like the bulk of your offense. That's no way to have an efficient offense when that's the majority of what you're doing.
It was like that James Franklin quote. Just doesn't matter what the thing, what I'm looking at. We're just chucking it deep today. I don't know why this happens to Derek Carr, but I do know that he's done it before. Like, this is multiple occasions with the Raiders, and now it's happening again with the Saints, where his play does not seem connected with anything else. It's not in tune with what the defense is showing him. It's not in tune with what he's working with in terms of supporting cast from receivers. It just sort of feels disconnected and random. And
how many times have we said that about the offense? That the offense does not do anything predicated on the defense or predicated on the game flow. We've said that for 2 years now, that Carmichael is going to run plays because he's written them down on a sheet. He's not running them because the defense is showing something. He's not running them because of an adjustment. He's not running them because of the game flow or the game script. He's running them because that's what he's got. And he's just going to let it rip. And it seems like Carr is doing the same thing. Like Carr and Carmichael are both just doing things because that's what they want to do, regardless of what's actually happening in the game. And that is very problematic for an NFL offense in 2023. And we saw that with when Carr came back. When he came back and he was in fullback twice on the first drive. Carmichael just wanted to run those plays. He didn't factor in anything else. It was as simple as, I'm running these plays. Carr on the field seemingly is doing the same thing, where he's like, I'm making these motions and I'm making these adjustments and I'm doing this. For no rhyme or reason, I'm doing this. I'm setting this, I'm doing this.
Like, you know, this.
So it's basically a rudderless ship.
Idea of, was it Mitchell Schwartz described Russell Wilson once as a quarterback that was like cosplaying as a quarterback, you know? Yeah. And he's sort of doing the things that he knows quarterbacks are supposed to do, but somehow it doesn't quite work, and it's like, it's obviously fake. That feels like what Derek Carr is doing on the field. It's like, I know the things the quarterbacks are supposed to do, right? There's supposed to be some screens in here. There's supposed to be a deep shot every now and again. I'm supposed to target my main guys when I'm in trouble. But it's not working. It's like, it's abstract and sort of.
This is a great way of describing the Saints offense. I mean, this is kind of the first way I've heard that, or first time I've heard that from someone outside of myself or any of the people who cover the Saints closely. But it is kind of like that, where Pete Carmichael, he knows, like, okay, I have to run the ball a certain amount of times. I have to pass the ball a certain amount of times. I have to get the ball to these people a certain amount of times. But that's it. Like, there's no real reason. There's no real. It is kind of an abstract thing where Carmichael is cosplaying as a offensive coordinator, and he's doing what he thinks an offensive coordinator should do. And Carr is cosplaying as a franchise quarterback, and he's doing what he thinks he should do. He's moving the protection. He's like, one of the plays we broke down with JT O'Sullivan was that Carr moved the protection, but then his play afterwards was not connected to what he moved the protection to do. You know, he moved everyone around to allow a hot receiver on the left, but then he looked right and tried to check it down or tried to throw it away to Olave. And it's not connected at all. Carmichael's the same way. Carmichael knows, like, okay, I'm supposed to run Alvin Kamara here. I'm supposed to run a running play. But there's no more thought into, okay, what kind of running play? Or which side or what has the defense been showing me? He just knows it's running play time. That's it. And then that's all. That's about as far as the thinking goes.
Divorce from the reality of everything else that's happening on the field. I don't have an explanation for why it happens, but we seem to get in this loop where Derek Carr ends up back in this spot again, right? After playing well or badly, and then we get stuck in this area where, like, it's not terrible. I mean, Derek Carr's not the worst quarterback in the NFL or anything, but it doesn't make sense what he's doing.
That's the mid-tier quarterback, man. I mean, that's what it really is, because after you made that statement, Raiders fans were able to attack you because Carr got better. And when they got him speed receiver Henry Ruggs, it was like, oh, the deep shots made more sense for a while. So it feels like Carr's in a slump. Maybe it's a multi-year slump. It's a second straight year in a new system. One other stat that kind of highlights what's happening here, Alvin Kamara is 21st in the NFL in receptions. 21st. He missed.
I saw where Kamara is on pace to have like 216 receptions or something like that. It's maybe not that high. It's like 190 receptions, which is insane. He missed 3 games. He's a running back. Like he might have 180 receptions and about 500 yards of receiving. Alvin Kamara is on pace to have one of the most insane stat lines in NFL history. He's going to be like 7th in receptions and like 75th in yards. It's going to be bananas if this continues.
The first 3 games. We're 7 weeks into the season. Kamara missed the first 3 games of the year.
Right.
He's 21st in receptions, averaging about 5.5 yards per catch because of
the check down.
The check downs, and there's a disconnect there with the.
If you extrapolate Kamara's receptions and you give him those 3 games, I would bet he's probably on pace I would bet he's probably on pace to be pretty close to the receiving record. He's probably right there. If you give him like 10 to 15 receptions a game for those first 3, which is probably what his pace would say, it's one of those situations where it's like, man, could he break? He certainly would break whatever receiving record for running backs, but he'd be on pace to break like the NFL reception record for a season. Simultaneously, I don't think he wouldn't even be close to like 750 yards.
The Saints offense. But there's a lot of potential there. It's just tough to put your finger on where that disconnect is.
Very quickly, since you were previously talking, I went through the entire list, and I have the previous worst mark for a turnover-worthy play rate over a season. I
actually want to see that. Let's do the quick math. All right, so quick math here. Kamara has 35 receptions through 4 games. He missed 3 games. So he's got 35 receptions through 4 games. So he's averaging 9 receptions a game. So if we give him the 3 games of 9, he would be at, so let's see, 9 times 3. Okay, so we have 27. 27 plus 35. 27 plus 35 divided by 7 games. So he'd be at 9 receptions a game. 9 times 17 for 17 games. He would be on pace for 153 receptions. Michael Thomas's record for receptions was 149. He would have 149 receptions Thomas had in 2019. Cooper Kupp had 145 receptions in 2021. So Alvin Kamara would be on pace right now if he played in those 3 games. And he had the, we extrapolated the numbers out. He'd be on pace to break the reception record. How insane is that? That is absolutely bananas. He'd be on pace to set the single season. Now let's do the yards just for fun. So he's got 177 yards through 4 games. All right, so 177 receiving yards through 4 games is 44 yards a game. So then let's say he has 44 times 17. He would set the NFL reception record with 748 yards. 748. Let's see what that equals in let's see if we can go to NFL stats, receptions. Let's see if we can look at 2022. This is crazy. I mean, this is one of those things you see and it's just absolutely mind-blowing. 2022 regular season. All right, yards. So 740, whatever I said, 748. So he would set the NFL record for receptions, and last year he would have been 45th in receiving yards. I mean, that is absolutely insane.
will guarantee you cannot tell me who it is.
Well, so Josh Freeman didn't qualify for that.
Correct. And the person who did it, it's on a reasonably small sample size,
Andrew
so it
Luck.
isn't technically speaking a full season.
Andrew Luck, 2015.
No, though that is, I think, the second worst.
Remember that? Speaking of slumps.
That's 7-point-something%.
That was inexplicable.
Yes.
Except they claimed he was playing hurt. Okay,
Right.
Who is it?
Kurt Warner has the worst turnover-worthy play rate over a season.
06?
Yes. 16 turnover-worthy plays in 167 dropbacks.
For a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Sorry, 184 dropbacks.
Warner had
167
incredible bad stretches of play for a Hall of Fame quarterback. And then incredibly high-level play as
right.
well.
But that was 6 games at the ass end of his career. Over a full 16,
No,
16
he played
or 17.
3 more years after that.
Yeah, but that's still the ass end of his career. Anyway, over a 16 or 17 game stretch, if Minshew kept up this rate, it would be by far and away the worst turnover-worthy play rate we've ever seen.
So if we're looking at a prediction for this game, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I think the Saints win this game. They have to win this game. This is season on the line. And maybe, it is what it is. At some point, I have to be right. I predicted the Saints to win every week, pretty much, and they've spit in my face. The Saints have to get something going. If they lose this game in the same fashion they've lost every other game, this is like the buck stops here. If they lose this game in the same fashion, I think Carr loses the locker room. I think we see some serious infighting with some serious problems in the locker room. Carmichael's probably gone because Allen's gone. They'll have to do something. Carmichael's probably gone. And it'll be like a full-on disaster, a full-on season's over. That's how I look at this. They have to win this game. They're on extended rest. They're on 10 days of rest, the mini bye because of the Thursday night game. Gardner Minshew is the quarterback. Gardner Minshew is turnover prone. This is a good defense. Yes, it's on the road, but they're familiar to, it's a dome team playing in a dome. That does help. Saints win this. I think the defense carries again because of Minshew. I think there's a lot of turnovers. I would bet Minshew to throw an interception. I don't know the odds. Someone can check it. I would guess somewhere in the neighborhood of, because of turnovers, that probably gives them more offensive opportunities. I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 24-13, 24-17, somewhere in there. That's what I think the final will be for this one. The Saints have to win. If the Saints don't win this game, I've said it before, but this is the season. Not only the season, but this is like the next 3 years of the Saints. Because if the Saints drop this one, you're moving off Carr as soon as possible. You're looking to draft a quarterback. You're shaking up Allen, Carmichael. I mean, there is a ton of change if the Saints drop this game. 10 wins ain't happening if you lose this game. All of a sudden, if you lose this, you're begging for 8 wins because you got Minnesota on the road, you got the Rams on the road, you got the Lions, you got all your divisional games, you got some tough games coming up. So if you drop this, and all of a sudden you're telling me you lost to Green Bay, Houston, Indy. That is inexplicable.
All right, man. We get the Saints favored by 1 in Indianapolis. Where are you going with this one?
Probably.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's the Discord game of the week makes you say, ugh.
Yeah, because it's difficult to pick. Probably the Saints.
Yeah,
I'll take Indy getting 1. Minshew's not going to turn it over at that same rate. No way.
Even if he cuts it in half, it's still a high level. If you cut it in half, he's still awful. By the way, if you're going to take the Colts here, +1, tease them. That's a little pro tip from me. Find a tease partner, move something else up, whether it's a dog at 2, move them to 8, or another 7.5 point favorite, move them down to 1.5. Just find a 6-point teaser partner, tease the Colts up to 7. Don't just take the Colts +1. That's a little fun tip. A little golden tidbit from your boy. Let me know in the comments below what you think. What's your prediction? I'm saying final number prediction 27 Saints, 17 Colts. Please, God, do not make me be wrong here. Please, Derek, please. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.